Welcome. You're listening to Sports Econ 101, the show where we discuss sports topics from a business perspective. I'm your host, Edward Brown, along with my co-hosts, Vern Glenn, FP Santangelo Jr., and Russell Jackman. At each commercial break, we're going to ask a sports trivia question. Today's trivia theme is NFL 3000 Passing Club. All right? Don't worry, you'll have heard of these quarterbacks, I promise you. Okay. When we come back, it's amazing how we got a lot of stuff to talk about. The Brett Favre scandal, the fan keeping Pujols 700 home runs so far. I wanted to see what you guys thought about Pelicans giving CJ McCollum, who I actually really like watching him. I think he's a great player. His extension. Iguodala, Iggy, back for his back. He love that guy. And then Vern found this one about number 25 Miami, talking college ball, football, and mid Tennessee. We'll talk about that situation. Holy smokes, Roger Federer, hey, he raked in $1.1 billion during his career, and apparently he's only the fifth highest by an active athlete.
Wait a minute, is that winnings and endorsements, or just winnings?
Just career. Well, it says career earnings. So, didn't realize there was that much money in tennis. How many years has he been playing?
A long time. A long time.
I mean, those on the men's side, those payouts are big.
Yeah.
I mean, the women are lagging in the payouts, but the men, they've been up there for a long time. Which reminds me, well, I'll get into it when you bring it up.
Okay. And then I thought this was kind of interesting. Aaron Judge, decision on betting on himself by turning down a 7-year, $214 million extension last year. And it might just pay off for him. Can you imagine turning down 7 years, $214 million? I mean, my big question is, A, do you want to stay with that team? Or B, I mean, how much more do you think you can make? Right? And potentially
what's the value of like,
hold on, guys. We got to cut to our first break. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, FP Santangelo Jr., Vern Glenn, and Russell Jackman, all here. All right, FP, start us off with the Brett Favre scandal.
Yeah, guys. So if you don't know, it came out that Brett Favre was in bed with some politicians in, I think it was Missouri, correct?
No, Mississippi.
Mississippi, excuse me. It was in Mississippi. There's more than $77 million that was going to questionable places. I think you're just completely missing. And it should have been going to very poor counties in Mississippi that really, really need the infrastructure, really need to help people out with welfare and all these different things. So Brett Favre got involved because he wanted a volleyball facility for his daughter. So he was requesting more than $1.5 million illegally from the state. This is taxpayer money to build a volleyball court. And then now it's starting to come out that he wanted more money.
$8 million.
What was that?
$8 million.
$8 million?
$8 million, yeah, to help build a football facility for his alma mater, Southern Mississippi. So all this really, really gross stuff is happening. And I don't believe he's going to be charged yet, but it's a disgusting stamp on Brett Favre's legacy. And it's a real big bummer because he was a really good quarterback. I love his personality, but now it's coming out that he was in bed with these really, really bad people that are stealing money from Americans.
I just wonder, I mean, that's Brett Favre. I just wonder how many other people out there, when they found out about it, they're like, man, they didn't come after me. I mean, how much misappropriation is going on out there?
Yeah.
There's got to be a lot more than that.
Yeah. And the thing is, I mean, it's not like he was like a good player who got paid fairly well. He was a great player who got paid really well. And plus, if I remember correctly, hearing that he got paid, $1 million to do a speech, and he just never showed up.
Yep.
And so the thing is, he's been gone long enough now where he's already in the Hall of Fame, right?
I believe so. Yeah, I believe he is in the Hall of Fame.
So what do they do? Do they like undo it? I mean, didn't they do it with O.J. Simpson, where they
No, he's in the Hall of No.
Okay. No, I think it was USC. They did something. Didn't they do? They did something with USC with the Heisman, or no? They did
that. Was Reggie Bush.
No, his Heisman trophy is still there.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So do you unseat
No,
somebody in the Hall of Fame? No, you just kind of
no, because you have. I mean, there's the Hall of Fame. I don't care. Pick the sport. It's not for a bunch of Boy Scouts.
So then why, in that case, then why don't you just let Barry Bonds in and then just kind of say, oh, but he was a guy who, we were pretty sure he did do steroids, right?
Because
I mean,
the
it's kind of the
writers
same thing.
vote. Because the writers vote, Edward.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Well,
Barry
listen,
Bonds
I
didn't make a
remember
lot of
hearing
time.
there was times when there was at least a couple of writers who didn't want to let Ted Williams in the Hall of Fame just because, they didn't like him. He wasn't a very good interview. He didn't like them. They didn't like him. So, okay, you're out.
Yeah, I
You know?
mean, it's unfortunate. The way that you got to look at the Hall of Fame, and a writer told me this, it's got to tell the story of that sport, okay? You can't tell NFL football without the story of Brett Favre. You can't tell the story of baseball without Barry Bonds. It's simple as that. So that's why it's ridiculous. There's wife
That's a
beaters.
good way of looking at it.
There's people that have stolen money. There's people that have cheated on their spouse. There's horrible people in the Hall of Fame historically, like racists, all these things. But they're still in the Hall of Fame at every level. It's crazy.
Remember, there was a time when Willie Mays had issues because he was there was a casino that was hiring him back in the mid 70s or something, and then there was all this organized crime issue. Len Dawson there was a time just before the Super Bowl where there were some charges that were potentially going to go against him. And then I think Otto Graham, if I'm not mistaken, there was some issue with some death, some murder that happened. And that, Otto Graham was kind of like the Boy Scout, or appeared to be,
Yeah,
we're going way back in time to the 50s, but
it's so contradictory. It's ridiculous. It really is. It's almost maddening. So that's why I really don't I'm probably kind of forthcoming in this generation of thinking. Yeah. But I don't care who's in the Hall of Fame. I really don't. It's just a bunch of writers. It just matters when I go on YouTube and I see their highlights. I could search their highlights and be like, man, remember that guy? That was really cool. That's all my generation.
Yeah, because there are, there are a couple of people. Like I think it was Tim Raines who got in finally, and
yeah, I mean
Tim Raines, he seemed like a great guy, and he was a very good ball player. Not Hall of Fame though. I mean, this is my personal opinion. And then you get a guy like Cap Anson. Now you're talking about the 1800s, right?
Yeah.
And there's a guy who, his numbers showed that back then, he was a Hall of Famer. But a lot of people don't know this. Like there was a guy named Fleetwood Walker. So people talk about Jackie Robinson being the first black person to be in Major League Baseball. But there actually were in the 1800s. There's pictures of them in the Hall of Fame, right? Fleetwood Walker and some other people, right? What happened was Cap Anson, basically, because he was prejudiced and he had such an influence over Major League Baseball, he basically was the one who stopped that for the next almost probably 50 years. Mm-hmm. And now that to me, I mean, that's just plain evil.
I'm telling you, you go look, and what will stand the test of time is the next generation learning about the mythos and just the greatness of the player, right?
Yeah.
Because of video technology now, go look at how many millions of views Barry Bonds highlight has and how many kids love Barry Bonds that didn't even grow up watching him. They're like, oh my goodness, this guy is a legend.
Wow.
So, I don't really care about the whole.
Willie Mays has that too, doesn't he?
Yeah, Willie Mays has some videos. It's really cool. I mean, YouTube's awesome. I mean, just the internet's awesome. You could go look up any old players that were on tape. So unfortunately, the ones that weren't on tape all the time, it's really hard to find.
I think the thing that's cool. One kind of a cute little thing was when Bobby Thompson hit the shot around the world back in 1951. Willie Mays was the guy on deck, and he even said, he goes, he recalls saying, I didn't even know what was going on. And they won the.
Hey, speaking of shot heard around the world, Albert Pujols hits his 700th home run at Dodger Stadium. A fan gets it. Okay, paid $30 to get that ticket in left field apparently, and now he won the lottery because it's going to go upwards of $1 million. He decided to keep it. Albert Pujols said, "Hey man, that's your baseball. You're entitled to that. You're a fan. That's what's so great about the game. I have the memory, I have the video, I have the bat, all that stuff. So that's fine. Yep. You take the baseball." And now he's probably going to get more than $1 million, probably $2 million for that 700th baseball. Only 4 players ever have hit 700 home runs. So that fan has one of 4.
That's a very
valuable ball.
Pujols, that's a very class act to say what he did.
Yeah.
And even if he decides, if he wanted to pay X dollars for it, fine. But the way he said, hey, that's what the fans are, I actually thought that was very classy. And that's the thing is like, let's say the first guy, well, of course, Babe Ruth hit the first 700th home run. But some big milestone like that, when it's the first to hit that kind of milestone, is big. But, now that he's the fourth player now?
Fourth player.
Fourth player. Yeah. Because you have Bonds, Aaron, Babe Ruth.
And Babe Ruth.
Him now. Yeah, it's cool, but I don't know. Again, maybe my value system is just a little different. To say let's say the first guy who hit the 7. If he would have hit like the Sadahara hit over 800 home runs in the Japanese league. Okay, so the guy who hits the 8, catches the 800th home run. That's pretty cool.
So let's get there.
Think of the folks back in the 30s and was 714. That'll never be broken.
Yeah.
Ever.
Again, we're going to cut to our first commercial break. Again, the one thing that the one record I think would be very, very difficult to break would be the Cy Young 511 wins. Yeah. Can you imagine you'd have to win 25 games that just doesn't happen anymore, basically, right? And you'd have to do it for over 20 years straight. I just can't imagine that one. Okay, so here's our first commercial break. We're talking about the 3,000 yard club, 3,000 passing club. All right. Who was the first NFL quarterback to throw 3,000 pass completions? Okay.
3,000 completions.
Who was the first NFL quarterback to throw 3,000 pass completions? Okay. And I'll give you a little hint. You would think of him more in the 1960s and 70s. So you don't have to go back to Otto Graham or one of those guys. All right. Actually, he played in
3,000 pass complete.
3,000 pass completions.
Why do you have to put the word pass in there?
That's true. Good point. Yeah, that's 3,000 completions is fine. It's not a trick question.
First quarterback with 3,000.
Right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. One more time. Edward Brown, FP Santangelo Jr., Vern Glenn, and Russell Jackman. All right. Who was the first NFL quarterback to throw 3,000 completions?
My guess is Joe Namath.
I'm going to say Roger Staubach.
No?
I don't know.
No, 60s and 70s.
Okay. I would say the hint would be he was known for his scrambling.
Joe Montana.
Fran Tarkington?
Fran Tarkington.
Fran Tarkington.
Wow. The scrambler. Wow. Yeah. If you want to go back to YouTube and watch some fun videos, Fran, I think he was maybe 6 feet tall. And he was like Barry Sanders as a quarterback, the way he can elude people. It was really kind of funny because he's running for his life, He's not a huge guy.
Little known fact, not that anybody really cares. Fran Tarkington's younger brother, Chip Tarkington, replaced me when I left Richmond, Virginia for Baltimore.
Really?
Yep.
That is a little known.
WXEX TV. Yep.
Wow. Yeah, and Fran's apparently a very astute businessman.
Big time in the Atlanta area.
Yeah, he didn't get tackled too much landing on his head, so that's good. All right, you wanted to bring up FP. You wanted to bring up Aaron Judge.
Yeah, guys. So Aaron Judge is currently sitting at 60 home runs right now this season.
As we record this show, yes.
As we record this show, he's looking to hit home run number 62 to beat Roger Maris's record and the AL, the American League record. Yeah. And a company called Memory Lane Inc., it's a memorabilia company, is offering $2 million to whoever gets that ball. For that ball, so that way, obviously, it's going to generate a lot of marketing for them. It's a brilliant move to offer that much money, I think. But so think about, you go to Yankee Stadium, okay, you get a ticket, you pay, I don't know, a couple $100. That's like a lottery ticket, and your chances are way better than a lottery because it's like 1 in 50,000, which is way better than
it'd be less than that because he's not gonna. You don't have to worry about the people behind home plate, right?
That's true.
You're talking about only the stands. So if you're really smart, what you do is you buy all the seats.
That's true.
And where does he like to put them?
Hey, Vern, we can't hear you. Go ahead. See if you can speak louder.
Can you hear me now?
Barely.
No, it sounds like your mic kind of went out a little bit. But yeah.
Okay. Well,
so I just want to ask you guys, how much would you want to pay for that? Starting with Russ, like how much would you want to pay for that baseball?
I got like $75.
Now we're not talking about how much is in your bank account, but if
Like,
you had the money,
if money wasn't an issue, how much would you pay for that baseball?
You know, for me, it's the value isn't as high because I'm not a huge fan of Judge unless he came to the Giants, and I would rather have it to sell it to somebody else than keep it. So I wouldn't personally buy it. You know, if I got it, I would sell it to the highest bidder right away. I wouldn't.
yeah, you're strictly looking at the financial end of it from what you could make on it. I get it.
I have a question, if you can hear me.
Barely. You have a question. I wonder why you're
not, if you're not into the Yankees.
If you're not into the Yankees.
Yeah, if you're not into the Yankees, do you care? And that's a great question.
That's me. That's me right here.
Yeah, it's historical. I mean, again, you know, the AL, that's kind of important. You know, the thing is, you've had a bunch of times when over 61 home runs has been hit now. Not a bunch, you know, a few, let's say.
Not in the American League, though. And
no, but not in the American League.
I think that the element to it is it's the Yankees, right?
That's the whole thing, because
that's the whole thing.
Because it's just beating Roger Maris's record, and it's funny because I don't think anybody is trying to threaten Judge for breaking his record, whereas poor Roger Maris, he was losing his hair because people were threatening to kill him if he beat Babe Ruth's record.
Yeah, it's a horrible story. That's a great point that you make there. Yeah, but I'm sure the weight of the world is on Aaron Judge. I think there's about less than 10 games left. He's got to hit 2 more home runs. That's really hard to do, by the way. That's not like the easiest thing. The good news is he can do that in one game if he needed to, because he's that strong and that powerful and that good. But
there's also the opposing pitcher who kind of, you know, I don't want me to be the record books for that.
Yeah, you don't want to be the.
You know what I do? I just say screw it. I just throw him a couple of easy ones. Just get it over with. You know.
Yeah, groove him a fastball. I've always thought, like, maybe way back from the day when Babe Ruth is playing, you know, there's maybe some shady stuff where somebody in a suit from Major League Baseball goes, "Hey, we'll see you that you're taken care of, and maybe an extra bonus comes your way if you just groove Babe Ruth a fastball here, so that way he hits number 6."
That's a really good. You know what? I would not be surprised at all.
There's a lot of talk about that amongst players, whether that happens or not, by the way.
Yeah. You know, for some reason that brings me back. There was a movie about the team from Mexico in Little League. It was 1957 or something, and it was basically the first perfect game, the only perfect game in Little League baseball history. You know, when you got to that level, to the championships, and they show in the movie that the game just before the championship one, basically the Mexican mafia was saying, you know, you're going to put this pitcher in and he's going to do such. I mean, they're betting on Little League baseball. You know?
Oh yeah, you can still bet on Little League baseball. I had a huge, when I was a producer over at KMBR, the local sports radio station in San Francisco, we had a 4-hour show about, is it morally ethic to bet on Little League baseball, which you can, by the way. You can. On overs, unders, who hits a home run. It's disgusting, I think. Because they're just kids. You shouldn't be able to bet on kids. It's ridiculous. But yeah, it's pretty insane. But Russ, I want to ask you a question from a legal standpoint. If somebody tells you to groove a baseball from Major League Baseball and throw a fastball right down the middle, right? Maybe you take some off of it. Is there any legal precedent to that for like throwing a game?
I don't understand. You say
a
manager can tell that a manager can say that probably does say that all the time to pitchers.
Well, no, I'm saying say Aaron Judge is sitting on number 61, right? And 62 is to break the record. And Major League Baseball approaches the pitcher that day. It says, if you groove a fastball and you just throw it right down the middle so you can hit a home run, and it's good for our sport, we'll pay you extra money under the table. Is that illegal in any way? Or you'll get it a bonus?
I don't think it's illegal against the U.S. laws. I do think it probably violates a baseball code or tenet, although I don't know exactly which one it does. I mean, you know, it's
get Kennesaw Mountain Landis back. He'll tell you.
Is it unethical? Maybe.
Yeah, it's got to be unethical.
Yeah.
You're supposed to try to win, right?
I think if, like, honestly though, you're making so many people happy by a record breaking, and it generates a lot of love for baseball. I honestly, I don't see anything wrong with it, but I was wondering if there's a legal precedent. Maybe that's never been brought, but
No, I don't think it has, because I mean, especially with a guy like Judge, he's going to hit it. It's not like he had like what 40 games or 30 games to get the record. Now he has like another like 8 or 9 games that he has that he could build on top of it. So I don't think baseball was worried, given his frequency of hitting home runs and how much he's been in charge of these things, that they would have to stilt it one way or the other, or try to.
Well, can you imagine back in the 70s, or maybe it was the early 80s, they could have done that to George Brett to say, hey, listen, we want you to be the first 400 hitters since Ted Williams, I guess.
yeah.
That reminds me of a story. When I was at Cron, I mean, this would never happen today. When I was at Cron, we did a bit at the Oakland A's where I was on the mound in full uniform, and I was entrusted with pitching Mark McGuire. This is when he was going for 70. And Giambi was in on it, and Art Howe was in on it. And we used Joe Buck's call and all the whole buildup. And then there was like a meeting at the mound, and it's Art and it's Jeremy and Art's kind of telling me, all right, kid, go get him. And then Art leaves, and then Giambi says, hey man, serve him up.
Yeah.
You can give him the record books. Just serve him up.
Yeah.
So I threw it, and then we matched it with the miracle of editing with McGuire swinging and going deep. It was pretty.
It could be argued that baseball makes more money by the chase than it does with the record. I mean, that's the other thing, is that if you keep getting people to come to the park, if they know that there's a chance they could see the record-breaking home run. So it's almost better for baseball if he stays on top of chasing.
You know what? That's a good point. In 1998, when Sosa and McGuire were chasing it, I mean, everybody was tuned in to every game. Once they passed it, it was kind of like, okay, well, did he hit another one and break it even more? That's actually a very, very good point.
And for us in our business, that was a time before cable really exploded.
Yeah.
So you had to watch, or you were captivated. You had to get in front of a TV set.
Oh, hey, I was in Las Vegas with the boys, and we literally stopped gambling and do all things to see what was going on. Okay, we're going to our next. And by the way, can we find that clip on YouTube with you and our?
I have to look. It may be out there. I'd have to search around.
That'd be pretty funny. All right, trivia question number 2. We're talking about the 3,000 club here. The 3,000 completion club apparently wasn't good enough for this quarterback, who was the first ever to throw 6,000 career completions. Who was this quarterback? So who was the first quarterback to throw 6,000 career completions? All right, stay with us. Sports Econ 101. We're going to be right back. Don't touch that dial. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown, FP Santangelo Jr., Vern Glenn, and Russell Jackman here. The 3,000 completion club apparently was not good enough for this quarterback, who was the first ever to throw 6,000 career completions. Who is this quarterback?
I'm going to say Drew Brees.
I'm going to go.
No.
Dan Fouts.
No.
I'm going to go Brett Favre.
Brett Favre. Yes.
All right.
Back in the news on Sports Econ 101. This time for something good. Okay. Before we get into the Miami story, I want to just finish up on the Aaron Judge. So he apparently last year had bet on himself by turning down a 7-year, $214 million extension, which is what, $30 million, roughly $30 million, a little lower. And apparently they say it may have paid off, because obviously what's going on now, that he could command $300 million. My question on that is, I mean, if I was Aaron Judge, and of course he doesn't know what it's going to be, 214, right? It's going to be 300 million, 800 million, 50 billion, who knows, right? But I'm thinking, gosh, I can get hurt. And it's not like I'm setting myself up at, making $100,000 a year for the next 20 years and being locked into that. I mean, 214 million for 7 years. And how old's he? He's what? Late.
He's 30.
He's 30 now. Okay. I mean, 7 years is like, yeah. I mean, that's kind of
Yeah,
right.
but if you're a ball club, you want to pay a guy when he's 37 all that money. Brings up an interesting question. I mean, I don't know who's going to give him 7 years and
yeah,
300
unless
he
for some reason like says, yeah, maybe I don't want to be with the Yankees anymore.
What was Juan Soto's? Wasn't it 14 years, 440 million?
Yeah.
He was offered by the Nats. And by the way, that was a horrible deal. If you looked at the year-by-year payment, it was kind of a slap in the face for what he's actually worth. But yeah, it's an interesting question. A lot of people don't remember this one because he's not a huge player. You got to really be a baseball head to know this, a seam head. Ian Desmond, the old shortstop for the Washington Nationals, got offered $180 million, and he said no, and he bet on himself. He got hurt. Then 2 years later, he got a contract for, I think it was like 8 years, $60 million. So he lost almost $110 million for betting on himself because he got hurt. And that happens. It really does. So it is like, do you want to take the money? Should you take the money? The team's kind of taking advantage of you if you do, though. So it's a hard dilemma. And these guys lose sleep over it. Imagine if you had to make that decision, right? Oh, I can earn $400 million, but I can earn $200 million now. And I don't even have like that much in my bank right now. I probably have like $1 million, $2 million.
Well, let's play general manager. We can just kind of go around. Yeah. You're, let's say you're general manager, ownership. Let's say you're the Giants, because he always talks about he grew up a Giants fan or whatever. I mean, what kind of a deal do you offer him on the table?
Oh, you give him like, I think you give him like 6-7 years, but you give him the max AAV, like the all-time record. So that way he can tell everybody forever, and this is an athlete thing, it's a competition thing, that I earned the most ever for a Major League Baseball player at the time. Like you can always tell people that. And it's like a competition thing, even in the clubhouse. Like guys will go, I earn more than you, sit down. They do that all the time.
Come on, the guys don't have egos.
What's the signing bonus?
Oh, everything's guaranteed. So the signing bonus has probably got to be like a year's worth already. So it's probably
even if a guy gets hurt, he still gets paid.
Yeah, in Major League Baseball, it's the strongest players union. So he could get in heaven forbid, a player can get in a horrible car accident, never able to walk again, and they get that $400 million contract money.
The club may buy insurance. You know, they'll just.
Oh, sure. Oh, yeah. You got to protect yourself.
The player in the family gets paid.
So. But what I don't understand is, FP, you said these guys have egos?
Yeah, I mean everything's a competition. When your life is a competition, it leaks into other things. Who's got the nicest car? Who's got the best watch? Who's got the nicest clothes? Who's got the biggest house?
But wait, hold on. When you get stuff like nicest clothes and nicest watch, all of these, even the rookies can afford that. It's just where you want to spend it.
Not every rookie.
No, because
okay, maybe I'm being a little bit too basic.
Rookies make $750,000 in baseball, which is awesome, right? That's like they fought hard for that. So that's the minimum pay now in Major League Baseball. That's pretty incredible if you think about it. But compared to somebody that makes 15 or 30 or 35 million a year, they can spend $750,000 on a watch. So it doesn't really matter to them.
I wonder what the percentage of ball players that are at the top. The guys making that kind of money.
So 1%, it's really funny because it kind of reflects how economics works in the United States. 1% of Major League Baseball players earn 99% of the money in the game.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
is that the top, like the billionaires? I can't remember exactly what the number is, but like the top 0.1% of the United States pay 40% of all the taxes. So when people say you don't pay your fair share, it's like, really?
Well, they could probably pay a little bit more here and there, but that's not the point. It's like I think it's 1% of the world's wealth owns 99% of the wealth everywhere in the world, right? And
that actually does make sense.
Yeah, where it's really unfair and really unbalanced. Like we're talking about countries like Venezuela. If you really get into the nitty gritty of it, so it's
they all want to be shortstops. You know, they do very well when they're shortstops.
Yeah, but hey, it's good because there's so much money in baseball that the pay has always been going up, no matter who you are. So that's
the point.
It should be
before,
adjusting to inflation. So
hey, let's move on to the Miami story. Vern?
Okay, University of Miami with the Hurricanes. Okay, now a lot of these name programs will schedule cupcake teams, whether it's homecoming or their home opener or whatever. You know, they'll schedule a team that they know they can pound to entertain the fan base, the fat cats who really kind of fund the program. So
talking college
Miami,
yeah,
they scheduled Middle Tennessee State at Miami and they were a heavy favorite, and as an incentive to bring Middle Tennessee State to be a sacrificial lamb, they paid them $1.5 million just to play them, plus $40,000 in travel expenses, airfare, hotel, the buses, all that kind of, all that stuff adds, food, all that stuff adds up. So Middle Tennessee takes it, they show up, they play Miami, and they win the game.
It's crazy.
That's great. Hey, if I was Middle Tennessee, I'm guessing that being a much smaller college, they could use the money. I'd say, yeah. I mean, even if they knew they're going to get pounded, it's like, hey,
sure.
I'd be like, if I got to play basketball against Steph Curry, I'd love to do that. I get creamed, but I'd love to do it, assuming I'm going to get creamed, right?
But every once in a while, something like that happens. Yeah. Whether you're, San Jose State playing Georgia or whatever. I mean, they'll pick up that appearance money, and lo and behold, boy, you play them tough. You catch a top team on their worst day.
Yeah,
it can happen.
So I hate to be the fun police, guys, but I have to say this. Do you know how much tuition is at the University of Miami?
No.
$56,000. It's the highest in the United States for a private.
Out of state or in state?
It's private. So that's
okay. Wait a minute. I paid. It's funny. My daughter wanted to go to Tulane. I thought, where's Tulane? And she says,
that's high too.
And I'm thinking, Louisiana, that's a cheap state.
Nope.
$70,000 a year, and that was 5 years ago.
Wow.
Back then.
Was that tuition or was that the cost of everything? I think it's the cost of everything. Because if you do the cost of everything at the University of Miami, it ends up being $80,000. If you do housing, food, everything. But just tuition itself, just to go to class, you got to figure everything else out.
Gotcha.
$56,000.
College and Marin sounds really good now for my
kid. Well, what does College and Marin?
My kid goes to USC, and for the top rich people that send their kids there, we're talking about $72,000.
Yep. Yeah, that's the highest in the country is USC. Yeah. And then it goes Tulane, and then it goes Miami. So they're like the top three. But guys, I'm just saying that $1.5 million, what if it went to scholarships? Like, think about how many students you can be paying for their scholarship. And the people at the University of Miami, those are some bright individuals. They have a huge medical program there that could save lives. What if you're paying for their school? And that's where this whole I'm paying a school to come in and beat their butt for one given day really rubs me the wrong way.
I guess the financial issue then is the reason we're doing this is because we're going to get our alumni to pony up a lot more money, as Vern says, for, the sacrificial lamb, such and such. Yeah.
Well, not after that game.
Exactly. That's called.
Hey, question for you. Can Miami ask for a refund because they lost?
You guys didn't take a dive. We're taking our money back.
Yeah, that's right. Hey, we paid you guys to lose, remember?
Yeah, but the whole thing where you're paying it really rubs me the wrong way. But when you talk about maybe an investment, I don't know. That's a lot of money that could go towards making a lot more doctors at the University of Miami.
Which actually kind of brings me a little something. It's not necessarily sports related, but with the idea of loan forgiveness, right, that the president's been talking about, rather than put it on the backs of the taxpayers, why don't they go after the schools like these huge endowments, right? And just say, hey, listen, Harvard, you had so many people take out student loans, get it out of their endowment.
Well, no, Harvard's actually a great example. They do it the right way. So I once upon a time, I looked into going to Princeton, an Ivy League school. And what they do is they calculate what your parents make, and you only have to pay a small percentage of what your parents make. or what they can offer. So it's very affordable to go to these Ivy League schools because the schools pay for your tuition. It's a weird thing because they know they have so much money. They have so many donors. They care about academics that much. It's not a scheme to make money where these for-profit institutions are really showing their colors now, right? Yeah. They want the American people to bail people out. No, they have more money than God. They could do it if they wanted to.
And as Russ said, the same thing. We have a local community college here, which is actually very good. It ranks very, very well. I mean, I went to college in Marin back in 1978 and 79, and for what I studied, I'd put it up against any school in the country. I mean, really, it was that good.
I went to junior college, and I learned more in junior college paying, I think it was like $150 in state a semester than I did when I went to University of Santa Barbara, which is a top 7 public school in the country.
Yeah. You just went there for the babes and the beach.
No. I went there to study extracurricular activities.
I like that. That's a good one. Okay. Are you guys ready for our next trivia question?
Go.
All right. So we're talking about the 3,000 club for football. Which quarterback was the youngest when he reached 3,000 completions? Which quarterback was the youngest when he reached 3,000 completions? All right. That's our trivia question. When we come back, you know what? We didn't even get a chance to talk about Iguodala. He's going to be back for his 19th season.
Mm-hmm.
He's
38 years young.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you guys consider him a Hall of Famer?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
I don't care about the Hall of Fame.
Yeah.
As we record this show, the team is on its way to Japan.
That's right.
For exhibition games.
Yeah. Yeah. Very, very cool. Very cool.
By the NBA.
All right. Okay. That's our trivia question. Again, I'll read it one more time. Which quarterback was the youngest when he reached 3,000 completions? All right. Stay with us. Sports Econ 101 will be back with some closing comments. Welcome back to Sports Econ 101. Edward Brown. Last time for today, Edward Brown here, along with FP Santangelo Jr., Vern Glenn, and Russell Jackman. Our third trivia question: which quarterback was the youngest when he reached 3,000 completions?
I'm going
to guess is Joe Namath.
Okay. We hear Joe Namath. Russ, what did you guess?
Dan Marino.
Dan Marino. Oh, that would have been a good one.
Another good guess.
Another good guess.
I'm sorry, guys. I looked this up because I thought I had an idea, but I looked it up. It's Matthew Stafford.
No.
Well, that's what Google says.
Oh, okay. Okay, so this quarterback. Okay, well,
maybe not the youngest. It said he was the fastest, so maybe I'm wrong.
No, but that probably that'd be the same thing then, or maybe he was the. No, he's not the youngest, but he probably like in the shortest period of time.
Yeah, that's Matthew Stafford.
Now the thing is, this. I mean, I did get this off the internet, but they could be old. But Drew Bledsoe.
Drew Bledsoe.
Wow. I never would have guessed him. Never.
And didn't
you could have given me 10 guesses. I wouldn't have come up with Drew Bledsoe.
And then didn't he get hurt? And that's what entered Tom Brady?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, back for 2000.
He got hurt. Brady came in. That was it was the Wally Pip like story. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
With Lou Gehrig. Yep.
All right, you guys ready for our thoughts of the day?
Yep.
Go.
Sure.
Now don't answer. I'm going to ask a rhetorical question and then I'm going to answer it. Okay. What does IDK stand for? Well, I've asked a lot of people, but no one seems to know.
Funny.
Okay. And you'll like this one. Frank Sinatra said, "The best revenge is massive success."
Mm-hmm.
Like that one.
The best revenge is
living well. Success. Yes.
Okay. I tell you what, we have a little bit of time here. I'm going to tell you this one joke. So the FBI was looking for an opening for an assassin. After all 3 background checks, he had 3 finalists, 2 men and a woman. For the final test, the FBI agent took one of the men to a large metal door and handed him a gun. "We must know whether you're willing to follow instructions in order to, be with us. Inside is your wife sitting in a chair. You're going to have to kill her." The man said, "You can't be serious. I could never shoot my wife." Agent said, "Okay, well, you're not the right man. Take your wife and go home." Second man was given the same instructions. He took the gun, went into the room. All was quiet for 5 minutes. And the man came out in tears and said, "I tried, but I can't kill my wife. You just, you're going to have to fire me too." Finally, the woman's turn. She was given the same instructions to kill her husband. She took the gun, went into the room. Shots were heard, one after another. Then they heard screaming, crashing, banging on the walls. After a few minutes, all was quiet. The door opened up slowly, and there stood the woman wiping the sweat from her brow. This gun is loaded with blanks. He said, I had to kill him with a chair. All right, tune in next week to Sports Econ 101. We'll be back next week.